Welcome to the Visionary Chronicles, a business strategy podcast where we provide insight to those looking for creative, executable strategies built around the latest disruptive ideas, innovative cultures, product creators, and marketing solutions. Today on the Visionary Chronicles, I would like to talk about something in particular those who start up or true entrepreneurs of companies at some point in time have to deal with. Some deal with it sooner, others deal with it much later, and some deal with it when they're ready to go ahead and sell their company. So one I thought was really relevant to what we're looking at as far as supporting visionaries, those running companies, true entrepreneurs, those that have founded brands, companies, products, whatever it may be, is burnout. How do we identify, and the other side of it is how do we manage it? We've all had to deal with it at some point in time, so I thought it was very opportune, based on where we're at with the virus, and unfortunately, or fortunately for some, that we've had a very long path and road for the last year, and many people, including those that we work with Liquid Mind, and owners and businesses, truly trying to first not only deal with it, but first say that you have it. A lot of people are in denial in regards to burnout. They feel that it's something other people have. It's just something that you have to deal with as a result of running your company. It's exhaustion. Yeah, that's all true, but actually those are symptoms of burnout. And what you want to make sure of, first and foremost, and I'll talk about it in more depth today, is number one, recognizing that you're on the path to burnout. The problem is too many people stay on this path to burnout, eventually crash landing. They try to deal with it. They try to see if it goes away. They pull the ostrich syndrome of putting their head in the sand and hoping that when they pull out that everything is okay. Well, it's not going to be unless you deal with it. And there are many ways when running your company that you deal with burnout. And the other part of it people don't talk about a lot is that not only does it affect you professionally, but it obviously affects you personally with your family, your friends, your colleagues at work, whatever it may be, and whatever symptom you may have from burnout, others recognize it and you may not. And some may actually bring up, hey, are you okay? Is everything going okay? So there's these subtleties when you start dealing and having to come up with what to do with burnout. Do I have it? Number one. Number two, what do I do with it? How do I deal with it? And how do I manage it going forward? You got a lot of pressure and it's very lonely at the top. And when I was running my company, Utopia, I found that to be the case as well, that there were certain instances where I didn't see it. My family saw it, my colleagues saw it, and there's a tremendous amount of pressure, especially when you're starting something from scratch like I did. And those that are inside of companies that are growing quickly, maybe it's a cash flow issue, maybe it's an employee issue, maybe it's a turnover issue, either employees or customer turnover issue, whatever it may be that it affects you. Boy, I tell you, it's really something that emotionally will drain you. And you want to make sure that you're dealing with it. Now, the thing that many people don't maybe understand what burnout is, but I'll just say the true dictionary term of burnout is fatigue, frustration, apathy from prolonged stress and at work or intense activities. So it's really what we call this fatigue and frustration. Things start setting in both professionally and personally. So you want to make sure that before it comes a long-term effect, which actually stress is a word that actually does affect your longevity. So it affects your life as well. So you want to make sure that whatever impact you have, that you address the issue and you understand you have the issue and deal with it. That's why you have people around you. That's why you have family, friends, colleagues, those are with the company. If you've done your job as a leader and a visionary of your company, you should have people surrounding you that will be able to take care of you. And I always say, take care of your team and they'll take care of you. So recognizing the fact that you've got great people around you, family and friends. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself first and foremost, because it's not going to do anybody any good if you continue not to deal with this burnout issue. So what are some of the effects of burnout? Beyond just these, what I call cause, there's this effect. And the effect is being lonely, depressed, terrified at times. You got a lot of issues where you can't relax. You're constantly dealing with anxiety. When I had Utopia, that was probably my first sign, was that I actually dealt with a burnout when I was going to sell my company. I was one of those entrepreneurs that I just woke up one day and just said, I don't want to do this anymore. And my story was, you got to keep a brave face on even when you don't necessarily want to be there, because that's the time when you're building value, and those people have to recognize that value, that you want to make sure you are up. You are very positive. And that's really a dichotomy when you're kind of in a position where you're in burnout mode. Trying to keep that brave face is difficult. And that's why many times when you're at work or you're at home, that's where people see these symptoms. And you want to make sure that you're dealing with these issues. And there's physical issues as well. There's headaches, exhaustion, lethargic, don't want to do anything. So what I looked at are, hey, what are some of these responses? Now, these come from not only me personally, but also through people and others that I've worked with in the industry, presidents, founders of companies, a lot of startups that I've worked with over the years. And we want to make sure always when we're with Liquid Mind that when we work with our companies, they understand that we can work with them personally and professionally because we've been there. Everybody with Liquid Mind has been with a company, large and small, from the beginning to the end. So there's these cycles that business owners go through, and many times they feel alone, like they can't talk to anybody. So we want to make sure that they understand, hey, you need to address this. And some of the responses that through myself, as well as others that we've worked with, as well as kind of this book knowledge of how do people deal with this burnout, is they call responses. So what are some of these responses that people come up with in order to deal with it? One of the big things that many times is left out of conversation is faith. And I'm a big believer in this, that believing in the higher power in scripture and verses. And one of the main verses that I always looked at was, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not only to your own expectations. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. I say that's an anchoring statement, really should be something for any business owner. And really what you're looking at for burnout, one of the cause and effects and responses is really having this kind of deep faith that, hey, there's a higher power out there who's going to take care of me and make sure that everything is going to be okay. And even if you have to go through these valleys and through these deep depression in some cases with business owners, eventually you're going to come out. You're going to come out on the back end. And so faith is a big one. And many times they may not talk about it, but really it's something, many business owners, almost all business owners have this faith that things will get better. And this exhaustion will go away. This lethargic nature that I have will go away. I just have to believe. So when you look at this response, it's also reevaluating your priorities. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over. And it's the old adage of, if the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, it doesn't correct itself. So you effectively kind of have to recondition your patterns. There's been a pattern that you've had over many years of doing your day-to-day, and that's what kind of brought on this burnout. So really, it's a case of reevaluating your priorities and making sure you're reconditioning those on a day-to-day basis. Now, some of the actions people take are what we call friendships. And what I mean by this is that when you talk to business owners, or even with myself, is that you are at the top, and many times you feel like you have to solve all these problems by yourself. And you want to have this to be a business-to-business relationship or a business-to-friendship. You've kind of separated those barriers. But I can tell you, when you get inside of a company, it can be pretty lonely at the top. And one thing you never want to lose sight of, and this is something that affects you as well as the team that's with you, is to relax. I say this 5-letter word all the time, is relax. Reevaluate the situation and take a calm approach to addressing it, and then do your implementation, put a vision together, and execute that plan with your team. But first, have fun with the team as well. So I say relax, have this plan, take a deep breath is really what I'm getting at here, but it really revolves kind of around this friendship. If everybody comes together as a team, whether it's personal or professional, you're all in this for the same goal and the same objective. So friendship is a big thing when you look at an action plan for handling or managing burnout, not only before it happens, but as it happens, and what do you do to recover from that? And the second action I call is compassion. And having compassion means that a lot of times when you have burnout is you're very short. You have a lot of stress. You're overwhelmed. You have issues on a day-to-day basis that is constantly 24/7, or what I call 25/8 in your mind. It's a constant anxiety. And it even causes these physical issues you talk about, headaches, exhaustion, whatever it may be. But what you want to make sure of, whether at work or whether at home, is that you have compassion. Understand you're going through a period of time that you're going to need people to help you. So have compassion, both personally and professionally. Be sensitive. Understanding, brings out the best in people, loyalty and trust. And when you're short, you're constantly in a flux and in a flow of anxiety on a day-to-day basis. You want to make sure that you're sensitive to those around you and understanding that brings out the best in them. And then as you go forward in your business or personally, it brings out the best in people, but not only that, but it also brings out loyalty and trust. So that's very important. Point number 2 in regards to dealing with this burnout is friendship and compassion. The third is team. I say team, which kind of flows with this compassion side of it and friendship, and they're kind of all meshing together. It's kind of this triad in dealing with the anxiety you feel with burnout. Is make sure the team members understand what you're going through on burnout. People are very compassionate. They will circle the wagons and making sure that everything is okay, because they never know. I mean, there may be a case where in the future they're going to have to deal with this. So, I'm sure all the team members that are valued recognize the fact that you are going through this, but also that as you go through this, they're in partnership with you. And you want to make sure that you're compassionate with them genuinely and authentically. So when this recognition of the issue comes up, you want the team to come together through compassion and friendship, whatever it may be. But it just allows you to become a tighter knit team as long as there's an open communication. Many times, and I talk to business owners as well myself, it's really difficult for small business owners and entrepreneurs to want to give up a little bit of control. And that's critical to ensuring that you manage burnout properly. I mean, you cannot manage burnout unless you trust your team, you have compassion, and there's friendship there. Because they want to know that there's a longer term opportunity here with the company, and they're in it together with you. So you're all locking arms on this. And so that gets to my fourth point here in managing it with is support. And I say, let go and let others take control. And I'm not saying control. People get kind of freak out over the word control and business owners. What I'm saying is you got to teach them how to fish so you can. I kind of get to the point here of, hey, if you love fly fishing, you like going out in the lake, swimming off a dock or whatever it may be, you need to teach those around you, the team, that when something like this does come up, that they're able to take over and assist you in making sure you can take time off to restore yourself. And I don't care if it's you, another team member, you have a process to dealing with burnout. And the culture that we live in today is a little bit different. In the baby boomer days, they would just work through it and they would take it home with them. These are things that you want to make sure. And again, I put these in points where they all kind of work together as far as the action plan for dealing with burnout, friendship, compassion, and again, the team environment and the support that you need. And teaching them how to fish, again, allows you to go fish if you want to do that. Fly fishing is probably one of the most relaxing things you could ever do if you enjoy something like that. Or maybe some others like to go golfing, or I love mountain biking. So it allows you to go do what you want to do in order to recover from burnout so you can come back better for the team when you are ready to go. But you've got a team around you that you trust, that are friendship, support, and that also has compassion for what you're going through. So these are all important aspects of dealing with burnout. And I would say the last point is the recognition. This is probably the biggest thing that small business owners and entrepreneurs have to overcome when they're dealing with burnout, is recognizing that you're either going down a path to crash land, or you recognize the path that you're going down and you take corrective action before you crash. So you need to understand your situation. You need to not get boxed in, feeling like you can't escape. That's many times what I know myself personally and others deal with, is that you feel boxed in. You feel like you have to be there every day, and it becomes a grind every day. And then as a result, it reflects on how you treat people, whether it be personally or professionally. So get away, escape to recover, and refuel, I call it. These are big things when you recognize it, is you need to refuel. Your tank's empty. There's only one way to refuel, and that's for you to get away, fill up the tank, come back where you're ready to go. And, letting others know, to have them understand what's going on also is very important. So going back to these points, and they all collectively work together, is this strong faith, knowing that things will get better, action plan of friendship, compassion, team and support, and recognition, both personally and professionally. You need to get away. You need to refuel. And that's a very important aspect to it. So, burnout's very common. The problem you have with burnout is that it's just a word to many people. They don't feel, well, I don't have it. Others have it. You're not alone. And I think some people feel that they have to be there. Well, I can tell you don't have to be there. If you've got a process, you've got a strategy built around how you're going to execute your vision, being away a couple weeks or a couple months, if it's an effective plan with the right people wrapped around the execution, you'll be fine. And it's not only you, but it's the people around you. You need to make sure that they understand there is that compassion. You're together as a team, and you want them there for long-term support, and also recognizing that they're a valuable asset to the team. And as a result, you can step away and know that things are being taken care of. So what I kind of say in conclusion here is recognize, reflect, relax, and remove burnout. Would like to thank you for listening to the Visionary Chronicles today. I really appreciate your time, and hopefully you've enjoyed the subjects that we talk about each week here on the Visionary Chronicles. And we feel it's very important. We understand that there's professional needs and support you need with your companies and with your brands, but we also appreciate the fact that you've got some personal needs. As leaders of companies and brands, there are many things that you have to deal with, and we want to make sure that we're addressing those as well. If you like what you hear, we would really appreciate subscribing to the Visionary Chronicles. Are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, and Podbean. So we would really appreciate if you'd subscribe, and look forward to bringing additional episodes to you each week. So again, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Look forward to the next podcast.